Hey, Mark Trahant here. How do you hold companies accountable? Well, in some cases, it's lessons that have to be learned over and over again. Hey, Mark Trahant here, and this is Breaking History. If you enjoy these conversations, be sure to share, comment, and of course, hit that subscribe button. This is part 2 of our conversation with Rebecca Adamson. We're going to be talking about something really remarkable. Rio Tinto Company made some of the worst mistakes there is in Indigenous communities, and yet they're doing it again. One of the things, I guess one of the greatest fears on Wall Street is a Black Swan event, where something comes out of the blue that you don't expect that sends your stock tanking. These are not Black Swan events because they're all predictable and all something you can measure. And I think that's what's so important about this report.
Thank you. This actually could change the global investment conversation because risk is going to be the number one driver in this economy. What we're looking at in the market is these huge demographic shifts. People are being displaced. Their wars evicting them. We're looking at an unprecedented pressure, exponential pressure on natural resources. We're looking at massive capital flows. It's no longer billions, it's trillions in capital. And the accelerated risk in the market. Risk is the game changer. It might be a crisis, like you're saying, but that crisis is going to form transformation. And Indigenous people are poised not only to benefit in a way of using this kind of approach to investment so that they can negotiate better returns, better deals, but they're poised to actually sort of lead the world in how to begin to approach these issues of investment and look at the risk. You're not managing Indigenous risk. It's Indigenous people helping you manage the risk. So it's just flipped the whole equation.
Another part that I think is misunderstood right now is the whole idea about diversity, equity, and inclusion.
DEI would have ruined our country, and now it's dead.
If investors are at risk for not getting different points of view, that too is a cost. And having people from diverse backgrounds is a saving grace in that respect.
I always would get so excited talking to you about these issues because in a lot of ways, we really, as tribal leaders, we have to take a leadership role we have to take the leadership role in finance. We have to become players in the future of finance because these risks are ever present with 80% of the biodiversity on Indigenous lands, with 54% of the watersheds, with 77% of tropical forests, with the large tract forests. We're talking about Mother Earth. And we're talking about Mother Earth in a way that means the people that created the problem aren't going to fix the problem. Diversity and understanding and the worldview that Indigenous people bring to the table, I think about the only way that we're going to be able to protect Mother Earth, even just using our own land holdings, but to actually begin to reverse the flow of capital. And the energy transfer gives us a flow of capital directly into energy transition investments. At that nexus, we can move in and make the change in a really dramatic way. And at the local level, the change is we should be making those decisions. Here I am again, I want to really promote a project up in Canada and bring up the First Nations Major Project Coalition. It's working with 170 different projects and at a scale that we should have down here, where they're locally negotiating better terms, equity positions, better benefit packages, and in addition, the leverage to protect the cultural values that we know are key, again, to long-term value creation, to resilient ecosystems, to a sustainable finance that it cannot be sustained the way it's. We're going to have at least a repression, if not a total depression or market collapse around water by 2030. The market is not going to be able to function on water as a commodity. And again, like I said, that's in everybody's portfolio. It's definitely in the energy transition portfolio on how you produce and extract these minerals and metals. And those watersheds are on our land and on our territory.
Wow. Speaking of watersheds, and we'll wrap this up with this, I had a chance to go down the mine shaft at Resolution Copper.
The Resolution Copper mine, their block cave mine, in my opinion, it's just going to be one large toxic toilet. You know, the size of the toilet bowl, 2 miles wide, 1,000 feet, The amount of water it's going to take to flush this toilet over its projected lifespan of 40 to 50 years, that's 40,000 acre-feet of water a year. And at the end, you have a byproduct of the toilet. It's going to be the sewage, the waste, which would be the tailings. The byproduct is going to end up to be 1.5 billion tons of toxic, arsenic-loaded waste that's going to be deposited 15 miles south of Superior. So it's basically a huge toilet caused by 2 foreign mining companies.
I was struck by how little I knew about how mining has changed. So I went down the shaft, and it's a traditional shaft. You go way down. I think it was 16,000. And then there's a train car that tapes ore up to the surface.
What was
That's
that
the
like?
old way. What they want to do now with Resolution Copper and with Rio Tinto is basically blow a big hole in the ground and then use water to separate the ore. That is a different type of mining that we're not even talking about how that change is driving what a company is doing. And there's a case study in that report that's so stunning about Rio Tinto is they've already made this mistake and they're on the cusp of making it again.
You know what's funny about Rio Tinto is that they really blew it in Papua New Guinea around the 1980s. The first time I was introduced to them was 1980s when they actually were caught funding the civil war in Papua New Guinea. And they cleaned up their act. They really got in CEOs, they got in social and environmental people, and they became a model for about a couple decades there. And then in Australia, when they blew up the 46,000-year-old sacred site for the Aboriginal people, they, like you're saying, they should know better. They lost the CEO, they lost the chair. I mean, major disruption. Now you go back to Papua New Guinea, they're facing a brand new lawsuit brought by Papua New Guinea for billions of dollars of damage in the Civil War. And here they are in Arizona, and they're doing the same thing. When you look at the water supply that's needed on this production, you're looking at 300,000 gallons of water per 30 tons, I think, of the mineral or something. When you look at where San Carlos is, they're taking most of all the major cities. Tucson Valley, Sun Valley, all those areas, 10 years of the entire population's water supply gone. This is going to be a crucial sort of tip of the spear in there.
The First Nations Major Projects Coalition has a really innovative approach, and they just had the idea that First Nations need to have experts. They need to have their own economists, their own hydrologists, or their own mineral specialists, geologists. Every type of specialty needs to be on the tribal payroll so they can have access to the very best information so that when they go in to have these conversations with these companies, they're on equal footing. And that alone has changed how Canada views some of these projects, because the tribe says, hey, wait, the data doesn't back you up when you say this. And that's something that companies are not used to.
And now we can take it out of the government and out of the technical side of it and just say the investors, the investments don't add up unless you do this. And so, I mean, Mark is creating really a powerful force up there. And I think, I would like to make the rallying call for all Indigenous people. This is about Mother Earth at this point. And we actually have the tools and the leverage now. We got to get it together.
Oh, Rebecca, I could talk to you for an hour. Unfortunately, I don't have that. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. This is for everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Breaking History, and be sure to hit the subscribe button, share, and comment. See you next week.